So this was a particle accelerator?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a half-mile-long linear accelerator in Los Alamos.
Oh, cool.
And the beam splits off.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down and it splits off into different experimental areas. So you can conduct a whole bunch of different experiments, just from one beam. And they can put different things in the targets to make different particles and go different directions. And depending on the speed of the particle going by and its spin and how long it's in transit, you can calculate its mass and, backtrack and then put things together. And, analogy I always gave was it's like if you wanted to analyze a Swiss watch, but you really couldn't look inside. But so you could take it and throw it as hard as you can at a concrete wall.
Yeah.
And then it busts apart and all the pieces go flying off.
Yeah.
Well, by looking at those pieces, you could backtrack everything.
Yeah.
You could see if one was spinning a certain direction and the rotation and how fast it came off, then the mass of it, if it was turning before, and by the angles, you can put it back there, and eventually you can reassemble the thing and see how it was made just from the particles flying apart. So essentially what an accelerator does is smash something apart, and then we can figure out how it all goes together just by monitoring those particles.
It's so cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I did at Los Alamos.
Did you get the sense that there were two branches of science that was a little more classified, and then public science?
No, not at that point.
Not at that point.
Not at that point. I thought we were all on the same level.
Yeah. Now, I know you can't say why they erased you from MIT. And there are a lot of people out there who say you faked your educational credentials. You have very good, I think, reason that at least passes, Joe Rogan and some other people who I really trust, their sniff test.
He said that he was working on something for the government and they sent him to MIT to learn something.
But I will ask you, is there anything you can say high level that hints at why you can't talk about why you were at MIT?
Well, I was sent there. Okay. And if you're sent there for a specific reason, maybe to do some classified research or work.
Yep. It's going to be off the books.
Yeah, I mean, but it's also, you also can't talk about it because it's still, look, the government's never going to come and prosecute me for, at least I hope not, for releasing information about S4.
Yep.
But assuming I was working on a weapons system, that's still covered under the security agreement. And at this point in my life, I just don't want to make any waves.
Yeah.
So,
no, I think that's very reasonable. It's also, I should note, and this is me talking and not you, MIT long is a university, affiliated research center. It's called a UARC, and they do all sorts of classified stuff. They have a super soldier program. We're always at the forefront of nanotechnology. And so the idea that...
anything I would have potentially been working on wouldn't be so outlandish as super soldiers, or it'd be just very conventional.
Sure.
But still classified material.
Yeah.
Touching stuff.
I think it's just helpful because this stuff is circulating out there, and the idea that you would get sent to that school specifically and work on something that you can't talk about is very feasible.
I did get sent, but if I would have gotten
theoretically,
sent,
hypothetically,
yeah. You got sent there. Yeah.
If I got sent there, there's a very clear possibility I wouldn't be able to talk about it, and I'd be working on some classified stuff.
If you wanted to hire a guy who could think clearly, out of the box, and help solve problems, but who could be discredited if you needed to do that, Bob was probably the best person in the country at the time. He was perfect for it.
George Knapp was originally this very instrumental part of Breaking Your Story in 1989 as part of KLAS.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
You took him to Los Alamos, is that right, at some point?
Yeah, I told him all this Los Alamos stuff, and I said, well, let's go there. I'll show you. And security was a little more lax back then.
Mm-hmm.
So we got in a plane and just rented a car. And, at that time, everyone I knew still worked there. So including the guards who get in, hey, Bill, Bob, you're back, and so we're in and, just took charge everywhere. There's my desk, here's this, and, walk in here, and I still knew combinations to places.
Right.
I'm sure it was not all 100% legal, but George just walked around, filmed everything, spoke to people that I worked with, and he said, all right, we can check that box off, and then we went back.
Yeah. And because I also, again, I want to address some of these like detracting comments circulating online. There are people who are like, oh, he just quizzed the physicists, at Los Alamos, but he really had some other job there or something. First of all, like your description of a particle accelerator and how to actually, detect subatomic particles, I think was, first class. And then second, you have a guy in George Knapp, which you have to either accuse him of some sort of collusion or something in his orientation towards you, or admit that you showed him around. People knew your name.
I mean, George
he saw it.
That. Yeah.
Yeah, and clearly he was trying to suss you out by asking you to invite him, right? Presumably.
Yeah, I just don't pay attention to the detractors and the nonsense. I mean, to me, we're past that.
Now, I never met Dr. Teller again, but in 1988, when I decided to re-enter the scientific community, I sent him a resume and inquired about a job. Dr. Teller responded by telephone and told me that he was no longer active, but just functioned in a chief consultant capacity. He gave me the name of a contact to call in Las Vegas. I made that call and things progressed from there until I got into the program at S4.
And so you send him the resume, and he remembers you somehow,
because I made mention of the jet car in Los Alamos.
And then he sends your resume to EG&G, and then you get a job there.
I don't know if he sent it. He when he did reply to me, he gave me contact information for EG&G. So I don't know if he said, or just have a look at this young man or something like that, or if he did send the resumes. I don't know what happened behind the scenes.
Did you know anything about EG&G at the time, or?
I know they did measurements. They did all the, those are the guys that came out and figured how to, photograph, an exploding nuclear bomb without it getting overexposed. They did all kinds of things, make giant flash tubes so you can photograph cities from bombers and stuff. So that's about all I knew. I knew they were just, a contractor that did weird stuff for the government, but, leaning heavily in the nuclear testing area.
It's a company that is the namesake of Doc Edgerton, who was MIT faculty, actually. And
Edgerton, Grimmerhausen, and Greer.
There you go.
Many types of cameras will be in use. The most important are fast packs, which operate up to 9,000 frames per second and expose their entire footage in a fraction of a second.
Have you looked at any of the other, obviously you're really into nuclear, and then you worked on UFOs. There's this amazing book that I always cite that I'm sure you're aware of, Luigi, called UFOs and Nukes by a friend of mine named Robert Hastings. And he talks about UFOs like Tic Tacs, saucers, orbs, all these different shapes and sizes of UFOs showing up at nuclear bases all across the U.S.
I've certainly heard that.
Isn't that interesting? There are 167 whistleblowers who are on what's called the PRP program, where they have to report if they're taking ibuprofen because they're guarding the crown jewels of American defense.
Oh, really?
167 of these guys.
Wow. I mean, there's really 167 of those guys?
167 of these guys. It's really wild. And they have
That's incredible. I mean, that should be investigated further, and I'm sure it is, but not publicly. But you're talking about nuclear sites. If you're talking about nuclear sites, you are at the very core of national security.
So my point is if you're doing the photography of that early on, you've got to have some asymmetric knowledge of UFO stuff. That would be my guess.
Yeah, they were the guys documenting and photographing everything from every angle, from everywhere.
Yes.
So if in fact all that stuff was going on, EG&G had to catch something.
Totally. And EG&G, it keeps coming up for me too in my own investigations. Even there's this thing called the Wilson Davis memo, where the scientist who actually lives in Austin, his name is Eric Davis, meets with the head of J2 Joint Chiefs, under whose purview is all military technology, a guy named Admiral Thomas Wilson. And they're in the parking lot of EG&G, and Thomas Wilson is like furious that he doesn't have oversight over this specific corporate program, which seems to be reverse engineering exotic UFO material. So you get a job at EG&G. What's your first touch point there? And so you have a little bit of context, but
yeah, I originally went in there. I didn't know what the job was.
Yeah,
but they interviewed me for that, and somewhere in the middle of it, they said, we actually have a different job that we're thinking of plugging you into now. I think I went to the bathroom, and when I came back, they said, we're changing channels. We think we have, and I think, so I don't know if they were both something at S4 or something else was going to be for EG&G or the Department of Naval Intelligence, and then they thought maybe S4 would be a better fit. I don't know what went on behind the scenes, but there were two jobs there, and they decided I'd be better off with the second one, and the second one was S4 out at the Papoose Lake area.
And what were they screening for? Like, what do you think they were asking you and trying to get at? And then when you go to the bathroom, why do they
I don't know.
shift and they say, this guy's actually going to, that UFO thing we're stuck on, this guy's going to break it wide open. He could be a good hire there.
I don't
do you have
think
any
that's
sense?
what they said. But I think they were stuck, and I think they kept, just because of the way the place is arranged, they kept trying to attack the problem from the same direction all the time, which is only going to yield the same result. In fact, if you expect anything else, you're nuts. It's the definition of crazy, right? Doing the same thing and expecting different results. Most of their questions was not about my technical knowledge or work experience. It was what I did after work. And, like the projects I built, why did you do that? And I think they were just looking at trying to find somebody that was outside of the box.
Yeah.
And I think that's where I fit, because before that, you had really straight-laced scientists, physicists, technicians, that abided by the rules and all that. And we need a little push from another direction. And I mean, it's my guess. I think that's why they popped me in there.
At that point, do you have any idea what you're getting yourself into?
No, but they said it's at a remote area and the work hours can vary. Some people are out there for 2 weeks on, 1 week off.
Yeah.
Some people, and depends if they're married or not or anything, and can spend that much time out there. Some people only go out 3 days a week, and and some people are just on call, and for the time being, it would probably need you sporadically going out there on call, and till we get you up to speed. And do you have any problem with traveling? I said, no. So I thought, wow, if it's out in the desert, it's probably, I thought it was, the only thing I knew about the desert was at that time was the nuclear test site. So I thought it was weapons related and, specifically nuclear weapon related. And I was going to be at the nuclear test site at somewhere, stationed near Mercury